Asphalt Research Conference, and we have Chait Bhat with us today on the Mixing Materials podcast. So excited you could be here. Thank you for taking the time to sit with us. I'm really excited to talk about your travels with the Asphalt Institute. How long have you been with AI now?
It's almost 3.5 years now, 4 years in November of this year. So yeah, fortunate to be working with the Asphalt Institute.
Yeah, it's really a great organization. And I know you were posting on LinkedIn about all the travel you've been doing and how excited you are to be doing the job you are. You want to talk a little bit about kind of where you've been and what you've been working on for the last couple of years?
Sure, yeah. I think the travel is just a reflection of the significance of research and the implementation work we have been doing with the Asphalt Institute. And the Asphalt Institute Foundation, because
Yes.
Asphalt Institute more tactical in terms of what we have right now, the challenges in front of us. Asphalt Institute answers those questions. Asphalt Institute Foundation is more strategic, so long-term vision, long-term strategic thinking, research, implementation. So fortunate to be working on both ends.
Yeah, very cool. So you're the head of sustainability, engineering, and research.
Yes.
And it's the first time that position has been at the Asphalt Institute?
Yes, so I was the first sustainability engineer before this position and got promoted earlier this year. So happy about that.
That is very cool. What surprised you about the role at Asphalt Institute?
For me, as a civil engineer, I had dealt mostly with the downstream side of the supply chain. So from asphalt mixture to its application in roads and roofs. But coming to the Asphalt Institute, a new whole world of upstream supply chain for me, everything from oil and gas extraction to refining, additives space. So it was a big learning curve, which I'm still learning as we all do through our jobs. So, but yeah, it's been exciting in terms of learning about different chemistries and how even small nuances affect the long-term performance of roads or roofs. Yep.
Yeah, very cool. So you went to Michigan You went to Michigan Technological University
Yes,
to get your
I did.
PhD?
Yeah, both masters and PhD
Okay.
from 2015 to 2020. I was at Michigan Tech.
So what brought you there? What was going on at the time, or why Michigan?
No, it's mostly the research arena in that professors at Michigan Tech were working. So Dr. Amlan Mukherjee, my PhD advisor, who's now the Senior Director of Sustainability with National Asphalt Pavement Association. So I've been fortunate to learn from him and work alongside him on a lot of federal highway projects, some state DOT projects too, a lot of cornerstone sustainability projects in the field of pavements that we worked between 2015 to 2020. So finished my undergrad in India and then as a civil engineer and then moved to the States to pursue, expand my body of knowledge.
What's been the biggest challenge in your role?
Challenge both organizationally and from a technical standpoint. I can break it down into two,
Okay.
right? Because organizationally in terms of this is a whole new learning curve for our members, it was, right? When it comes to the world of sustainability, starting with what is a life cycle assessment or what are environmental product declarations. So think of it as providing education, but not to students, but to industry.
Yes.
And had to firstly understand what the industry does, right, before starting to tell them what I do. So it was a two-way learning curve. I wouldn't call it a challenge, but more of an opportunity that was up for grabs, and was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time to serve the purpose.
How do you find actionable items, like with the sustainability role? How do you find things that you can take action on and the industry can take action on?
Yeah, like on the tactical side, it's pretty straightforward as to the road agencies are setting some thresholds in terms of we need environmental product declarations by this time, and that what is the role of our members and when should we get it by. So it's pretty straightforward, and when I say straightforward, of course there are challenges with respect to third-party review and other things, but strategic is much more challenging in terms of where you have to look beyond the horizon that you currently see, right? And you have to examine what are those different pathways that are feasible for the industry to take, but also as a broader societal sectors that we deal with, what's feasible and what's not, right? So yeah, we are making sure, so from the past 3.5 years, there are a lot of outputs that have come out of Asphalt Institute and Asphalt Institute Foundation, specifically on sustainability. Of course, there's a broader other engineering division lab that Asphalt Institute works on. So there's a lot of other research work too that gets through our regional engineers or through our lab at the Asphalt Institute. But sustainability specifically, like last year, we completed a work with this consultancy called Wood Mackenzie, an internationally renowned consultancy in the energy space. And what we looked into that within that project was how would the concept of energy transition impact petroleum asphalt supply, as well as importance of performance and durability on the overall life cycle environmental impacts. Because there is the material environmental impact, there is the application environmental impact. So we don't want to decentralize any impacts to our road owners or the agencies.
It's a great idea.
Right.
To keep it all together so nobody's off on their own.
Yes.
I found it really interesting in your talk yesterday. You were talking about how much the demand is going to increase over the next few years, and like what's driving that. I know you talked about it in your talk, but if you could, how do we, and not only what's driving that, but how do we manage that moving forward?
Sure, and the demand changes are different for different countries in terms of whether we are looking at developed countries or we are looking at developing countries, right? So coming from India myself, in the developing countries, there's a lot of new road constructions, project expansions, right, on which you'll need more materials. In the developed countries, it might be more of preserving, maintaining, rehabilitation of existing roadways. So the demand is increasing because of different aspects. And now moving to electric vehicles and other heavier loads, you might need much more stronger materials as well as designs, and you may need more maintenance in the future too. So there are multifacets that reflect in the increased demand for infrastructure materials, specifically asphalt, in the coming years and decades.
So how will binder testing evolve to meet the sustainability goals that we're driving towards right now?
Sure. So existing specifications and binder tests are all meant for petroleum asphalt, right?
Yes.
Like the Strategic Highway Research Program and other research activities at state levels are all focused, or we're all focused on the petroleum asphalt binder. Now, if you are bringing in newer materials into the market, would the existing aging conditions, for example, be relevant for those newer materials? Existing tests for cracking, rutting, would those be relevant? So one needs to research on all those aspects, and it becomes way more critical to understand the chemistry and the chemical formulation changes within binder as well as the mixture in order to simulate the long-term performance.
Yes.
Of course, our definition of holistic sustainability is to look at the cradle to grave, like the whole life cycle of applications like roads and roofs. So what we also encourage is have data feedback mechanisms between the material databases that the DOTs manage as well as their pavement management system databases, because only then you would see the actual results of the changes that you have made within the material space, whether they have performed better or not over the 10 year or 15 years that you might have designed your road for.
Yeah, the interconnected data, we keep hearing that come up over and over again. We heard it at Napa Midyear last week, and we've been hearing it here at Park this week also. So it's interesting to me that everybody's talking about interconnected data. Do you have like a path forward, or is Asphalt Institute like working on a path forward for the interconnected data for their industry members, or where are we at with that, I guess, from your perspective?
Sure, like it's, of course, we can't do it by ourselves because we are the upstream material industry, right? So we need to take into account the contractors, the road agencies, because ultimately agencies are the owners of the roads and different sections. So what we are trying to do is kind of identify best practices to educate both members as well as outside, and through avenues like TRB, Transportation Research Board, and others, have these webinars to bring in state DOTs that have already started looking into these integrations.
Excellent.
So that other agencies become aware of it. And everyone has their own challenges, not saying that everyone will be able to do it right away, but yeah, we are trying to do our part in making sure we have good quality roads in the future that are sustainable.
Excellent. So if you could magically build your own software dashboard for sustainability, what would you want it to do?
What I would envision is integration of your pavement design softwares, with your lifecycle cost analysis
Yes.
and your lifecycle assessment tools, right? So to bring all of those together and talk in terms of the same data and data-driven decision making that would happen, but it's very ideal, right? So,
Oh, yes.
but we're very optimistic, very ideal, but it's nothing wrong in being optimistic, I guess. So
No, let's
it's
dream.
difficult, but let's take small steps towards getting there as to connecting the material databases with the design and the payment management systems, and then using that reliable input data to conduct our lifecycle cost analysis as well as lifecycle assessment. Now, just doing that might not be sufficient because you also need organizational changes in terms of contracting mechanisms and project delivery methods. Because how will you ensure there is sufficient validation to your initial estimations of lifecycle assessment or lifecycle cost? So we have a big challenge ahead, but we have a lot of talent in our industry, which I believe will be able to get us there. So.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. We have the right people in the industry that we can get there. And I love that you're dreaming big, because I think that's how we really move things forward. Like, dream where we want to be. Even though it doesn't seem possible right now, it will be in the future. So I think that's great that you're there already and thinking about those kind of things. So what is the proudest moment of your career so far?
That's a difficult question. I'm not a kind of a person who takes pride in small things, but I think it's just, for me, it's my dad's a civil engineer too, but he's into vertical construction, and my line of work is completely horizontal construction. So so when I recently visited India and a university invited me to give a talk, for my parents, even though they don't tell me, because they'll feel like, okay, this guy will take it to his head. They shared it with all their friends that, oh, our son is going and giving this presentation. So for me, that was a bit emotional as well as proud moment.
That is very cool. I love that your dad's in vertical and you're in horizontal, because my daughter's going to, I was telling you, my daughter's going to school to be an engineer, and she's telling everybody, but not roads. So I anticipate
Hopefully she'll shift to roads someday.
We may be the opposite. I'm horizontal and she'll be vertical, but either way, I think that's great. I'm really happy that you had the opportunity to go back, and that's really cool. And I think you should also be very proud of the fact that you're working for the Asphalt Institute so early in your career. Like, they are such a great, I'm missing the word.
I can provide, like, it's a 100-plus-year-old trade association.
Yes.
Right, and has done credible research and are the cornerstone for different specifications that are out there. So you can mention that. And then sustainability being a very new thing, but also we are establishing benchmarks even in that space.
Yeah, excellent. So working for the Asphalt Institute, what's been your proudest moment, and like what are you working on there? Because I think just being there and being part of it is really a big deal.
Oh yeah, definitely, because working for a trade association, one of the first trade associations for asphalt, if you think of it, established in 1919, right? So it carries a legacy of its own. And if you look at, and not just within North America, but globally, the materials that come out of Asphalt Institute, like the constructing quality asphalt pavements or our mixed design manual, it's used everywhere, right? So working for such a trade association, and that too in a space that's evolving and establishing new benchmarks and baselines, that's I'm really fortunate to be working, and mainly our members, because we are a bottom-up driven organization. So for everything we do, we first listen to our members, and our members provide us the feedback as to whether we are on the right path or not. So they are our compass that keeps us on the right track. So I've been fortunate to learn from our members and work for them.
Yeah, that's very cool. If you could change one thing overnight about the industry, what would it be?
Better bridging the gaps between research and implementation. So we do a lot of research, but how much of it gets implemented? Of course, there is, like say, feasible research. There's some research that's may not really be feasible to implement, but improving that gap between research and implementation, and educating the end users, as well as enhancing the communication between the research world and the application world, is something that I would.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, because from my own experience, implementation is always the hardest part. Like, we can do so much for research and understanding what's going to help, but then actually getting somebody to use it in the field is just a big challenge. Like, so I'm curious to hear what you think we can do to be better about that. Do you have like any strategies or ideas that like you think we like the people listening could use to help them implement things more efficiently?
Yeah, understanding, placing yourself in the shoes of the end user and understanding what their requirements are, what their challenges are. So as a researcher, I think that's very important.
Yes.
Because we might get very excited from an idea, but is that what the end user is looking for right now, right? And when I say end user, the public agencies for roads, the private industries for roofs. So better communication to start with, and understanding what their needs are and trying to do research to facilitate those needs is something that I think we could do. It's the small steps again. As we talked about integrating databases, nothing's going to change overnight. But I think our industry is doing a lot of those. When I say our industry, pavement industry as a whole or roofing industry as a whole, we do have a lot of arenas where these end users meet with the industry and we have those communications. So I think it's only going to improve over time. But yeah, making sure that our research is implementable.
Yeah, no, I like that. So what excites you about the future in the industry, especially with the sustainability movement, things happening? What's the next big thing that you're excited about? More on data-driven decision making, as I talked about, in terms of where agencies are getting more digitally equipped from the design or the management system arena and everything. So, of course, with the evolution of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the big data that agencies need to handle, what excites me more is like some of the systems that are possible to be built. Yes.
To understand changes that happen by changing, let's say, a small material component to your whole design service life, right? And maintaining those databases and using those as learnings for your next set of decision making. Because one main challenge we see in our industry is knowledge transfer.
Yes.
Right? When our experienced personnel retire, what happens to the people who are coming new? So through digital avenues, there is a possibility to enclose that body of knowledge within a specific avenue and then using that to enhance the body of knowledge transfer to next generations. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, like being more digitally equipped, being able to use some of the evolving machine learning, artificial intelligence within decision making.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I've been talking to a lot of people lately, once again, about the interconnected data. I feel like we keep coming back to that. We got to use our databases to transfer knowledge, and then we got to interconnect all that information so we can really get to the next level. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we wrap up? Is there anything you want to tell our audience or anything that's on your mind that you want to share?
No, firstly, appreciate the opportunity to come on LASTRADA's Mixing Material podcast.
Yes.
I think you guys are doing a great job by providing an avenue for folks within the industry to come and express themselves as well as connect with others, because in this digital arena, we mostly talk to each other through LinkedIn, right? So, fortunate to be in this great industry where we have great people that have been working from more than 35 years. So some of them were expressing yesterday when I was on the keynote panel that their experience is 35 years. I'm 32 years old. So their experience is more than my age. So it's fortunate to learn from those experienced personnel, as well as making sure that have gotten this opportunity, making sure other younger folks who are coming into industry get the same opportunity and have the same foundation to learn and take our industry forward.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be on with us today at the Peterson Asphalt Research Conference. So that's a wrap for Mixing Materials. Keep learning, keep building, and see you next time on The Road to Knowledge.